They dropped 4 out of the 8 charges. The headlines we used to read about how Jonathan Majors faces up to a year in prison. What was that for? What good was it? Dragging his name in the mud. Remember the strangulation charge? Dragging his name in the mud. And we're not going to undo the past. The damage has been done. This will never be as loud. And his not guilty verdict, which is coming, is not going to be as loud as the headlines disparaging this man's name. Much has been made about the jury. The jury makeup is, thank you to Danny, she says, 1 Hispanic male, 2 Asian men, 1 white male, a black woman, and 2 white women. The Hispanic male and the black woman were the only ones who were above 40. Everyone else seemed to be below the age of 40. Those 2 white women are the ones I'm looking sideways at, or they could be perfectly normal contributors to society where I have nothing to be paranoid about. Let's read the article. Vulture is where I'm at, and you can see how it leans. Nevertheless, Victoria Bekempis does a fine enough job to help me with this video. Jonathan Majors grabbed and hit his former girlfriend Stephanie McMahon to cover up his infidelity, Manhattan prosecutor Michael Perez said. Where's Kelly Galloway? Where's that fresh out of law school rookie? Oh, not experienced enough to lie properly and win this case on his behalf? Where's that one? Because her name was all over the paperwork. Where's District Attorney Alvin Bragg at? Why can't he put his name on this? Why can't he show up? Let's listen to his opening statement. Majors engaged in a cruel, manipulative pattern of psychological and physical abuse throughout their relationship for 2 years. Used physical violence against her to manipulate her, control her, and physically hurt her, Perez said. He told jurors that an altercation unfolded late March 24 into the next morning while driving to Manhattan after a dinner in Brooklyn. Stephanie claimed that she was leaning her head on Majors' left shoulder while he scrolled on his phone when she saw a message from someone named Cleopatra. The missive read in sum and substance, "I wish I was kissing you," referring to a D'Angelo song called Lady. And they were heckling him for any and everything as he was leaving that courtroom. This is also from Victoria.
You an Old Testament or New Testament kind of guy? How do you feel about today?
Hey, so who was Cleopatra?
What's your favorite D'Angelo song?
It's terrible that there's a jury of 6 people with a verdict who are going to decide how to discipline him. It hasn't even happened yet, and he's lost so much. His reputation, he has to suffer that stuff. I'm so sympathetic to Jonathan Majors for something he didn't do. This woman said she was gonna kill herself. He dials 911. Hey, go help this woman out. And the cop said, "You know what? You're the ones who did it. You're the guy who definitely did it." They asked her 19 times what happened. She says, "I don't know." 19 times, but on that 19th time they cuffed her. And that strangulation charge that they got her to convinced her to say that he did. That all of a sudden has gone missing. That's not even why we're here. They're saying, "No, no, no. 11 hours ago, that's how I got this lacerated finger and this ear problem." When it's clearly not the case. If her ear was bleeding, then this hug would mean that their bleeding ear would get on Chloe's blonde hair. And Stephanie's hair does not at all taint Chloe's hair. Turn left for me, Chloe. Let me see if the blood on your side. Nope, nothing. Not at all. There's no blood there. She's not wiping anything off because you were not bleeding at this point in time. This is utter BS. Stunned when she saw the message, as most people would be, Stephanie grabbed the phone. Okay. They admitted that she initiated an altercation. She was the one who grabbed the phone. Everything was okay until she grabbed the phone. That has to count for something. Now, there's levels of how much you can retaliate, or retaliate is the right word. And let's see if Jonathan crosses that line, according to the prosecutors themselves, because so far, not looking so good. ... But the defendant needed to be in control. Nah, fam. She took his phone. She reached for his phone, got his phone, and he got it back. He didn't need to be in control. That's something that belongs. That's personal property. And everyone sitting in that courtroom and everyone else in the world doesn't want their phone in another person's hands. It's nosy. It's an invasion of privacy. And it's perfectly reasonable to retrieve your phone, at the very least be upset that your phone has been taken away from an aggressor. A psycho girl, as we'll learn later on. He began grabbing Stephanie's body. Why did he grab Stephanie's body? Let's put it into context, everybody. He pulled her right arm behind her back and twisted it. He struck a blow that struck across the right side of her head. I would love for that blow to be specific. Was it a backhand, an elbow, a fist, I don't know, did his shoulder make physical contact with her shoulder as he was with her face as he was reaching over for her. There's levels. When you say that a blow that struck across the right side of her head, that's weak. Like, say a punch, you know what I mean? Say he kicked, he violently elbowed. But if all you can characterize this is as a blow, it alludes to me that it's not an actual closed fist, or my imagination doesn't wander to the most extreme. My imagination actually wanders to, okay, why are you not just saying exactly what the attack that you deem to be an attack was? Because of that strike, the strike, the defendant was able to grab his phone. Okay, Jonathan got his phone back. Major's physical attempt to hide his cheating caused Stephanie bruising and swelling, which we have no evidence of because she goes clubbing, as they'll completely ignore in this watch. We read substantial pain and a broken finger. All right, finger was perfectly fine. Just a few minutes later, 8 minutes later, she's tying her hair back. Everything's blessed, and there's no signs of injury. After this altercation in the privately hired Escalade, the car came to a stop around the intersection of Canal and Center. Majors got out, and Stephanie tried to follow him. First of all, he's evading her. You're trying to make him look bad, fam. He's leaving. He's being the guy who's not participating in a violent struggle or fight or anything. That makes him sound good, idiot. There was no hesitation of him using physical force with her once again, I think it means. Maybe that's a typo. He used both his hands to pick up Stephanie and shove her back into the Escalade. Mind you, Jonathan at this point just got scratched on his face. And he's also scratched on his wrist over here. The driver will tell you it's a psycho girl. He is the victim of pain, bleeding, and every other lie that she's trying to tell you because she's sour because of a breakup. And the cops and the DA wanted to get Jonathan. He's leaving and he shoves her back into the Escalade. There are levels that you are allowed to. You know what else you're not allowed to do? What you can do if you are at the subway train and someone's at the early beginning of that and it looks like he's about to jump ahead and take himself, you're allowed to tackle that man or woman. Someone's about to commit a suicide, jump off of a bridge, and you grab them with all your might. You pull them. You might even pull some hairs out. In context, it is perfectly reasonable. So if you are being attacked and his response is get back in the car, I'm leaving, I'm running away, that's not criminal. And it is terrible. I reiterate this, that his life, because his reputation is part of his brand, his ability to make money for himself, and then just black representation in whole has to go over this hurdle with a leading actor whose studios seem to be fine with dedicating $100 million budgets to a leading man with his talent, and that may be it already is. It already has been negatively affected by this case, not even the trial, just the case that it came up. I'm looking at the cops. I'm looking at the 911 operator. Why did you dispatch police? I'm looking at the district attorney. Why didn't you drop this? Because you had the video, you had all this information before May 9th, man. May 9th. All right, let's keep reading. Back into the Escalade. At some point, Majors grabbed her hand and brought her across the street. Then he sprinted down the street of Manhattan. A group of strangers who encountered Stephanie, seeing her upset, took her out to console her. That's all. They just took her out to console her. To the club. Bottle full of bub. She then went home. Oh, we're just going to skip past the part where she's being twirled. All right, cool. Let me add that in. Here she is perfectly fine being twirled. And there's plenty of evidence of her using her finger. That little DJ over there and the bartender are willing to testify. Last I checked, maybe they won't. But we got a lot of witnesses here. Just because Perez decided not to cover it, don't worry, Chillmonger has you covered on some facts. When Jonathan Majors returned to his Chelsea apartment the next day, you skipped a lot of text messages she sent, okay? To find Stephanie sleeping in his closet. He called his manager and then he dialed 911. Officers responded and questioned them. Remember, cops are racist, don't forget that. Noting that Jonathan had no injuries He had no injuries, and let me remind you, injuries. He actually says, I remember reading that during the interaction with the police, he is saying, "No, no, no, I'm the victim. Look, look, look." So for them to say, "No, we don't see anything," is explicit, upfront racism, prejudice, disbelief. They're on code. They hate him. Bigotry. Now they say that he threw household items in July of 2002. Okay. September, he was angry about her pulling the headphones out of her ear, told her, "You're stupid if you don't know what you did wrong. That's not criminal." It's not nice either, but it's also irrelevant to this case. Tell me about the other time he elbowed you and blew a strike at you. Tell me about that time. That's relevant. That's if that's what you're coming up with. Yo, you can lie better than that. Jonathan Majors held Stephanie to impossible standards, allegedly telling her she needed to live up to the standards of Coretta Scott King. That's wrong. That's all you have to say to get him? All right. Martin Luther King's wife, Michelle Obama. I'm a great man. I'm a great man. Demanded from Stephanie total compliance. I don't care. He's not on trial for that. Try to convince me that what happened in the backseat of the car happened. And you're not going to be able to because there's a driver who's a witness. And I do believe it's been videotaped. I believe that's the evidence that's been submitted and sealed to not come out because it could hurt him. Yeah, let's just see how he returned her to the car. Did he throw her like a football, as they said? I saw some other people reporting that Jonathan threw her in there like a football, or was she attacking him? And it became very understandable for him to separate himself forcefully without exceeding the allowance of how much physicality he could make. And that's for a jury to decide. Unfortunately, the jury, I was going to say, unfortunately, there's two white women on the jury. I was going to say that. Let's keep that in there. Unfortunately, there's two white women in the jury. Now, this is where the bias comes in. Major's defense, not surprisingly, said that he was the real victim in their opening. Two people are in the back of a car. They have a seconds long physical altercation over a text message on a cell phone. One person emerges from the car with a bloody gash. Let's put the picture up there again. Scratched. Let's put that picture up again. And scarred and begins running fast to get away. That's what happened. According to the prosecutors, that's what happened. He escaped. He left her. She says it. She says that he ran away. How was this man facing a criminal court? How were they delaying this? Ooh, it's so unfair. Ooh, it's so unfair. The other person emerged unscathed and unhurt and gives chase on foot through traffic like in a movie. Chaudhry said that Jonathan was the only person who emerged from the car bloodied or hurt, the one who was slapped, clawed, and scratched by Stephanie in a way that made the driver, the only witness to these events, describe Stephanie as a psycho girl. He said that Stephanie McMahon Helmsley was a psycho girl. The only witness said that. Why did this go to trial? During her opening, Chaudhry also hinted that racism played a role in Stephanie being seen as a victim, which is consistent with her prior claim that the proceedings were saturated with explicit and implicit bias. Chaudhry said, for example, that there wasn't a speck of blood on Stephanie's blonde hair, not a mark on her fair face. That's true. We would be able to see that. I remember constantly bringing this up to show you she wasn't strangled because it would have been noticeable. They dropped that anyways, but that was something that I was bringing up. And it's good for Priya Chaudhry to bring it up also with her light features. They're going to say, oh, they're bringing the race card. I think that's what this article writer is going for. And she must not understand. I saw a picture of her, for white woman. There are people who don't experience the lives of what a melanated person experiences and undervalue or under-recognize the importance of their physical appearance with the interaction with police, just interactions in life, experience, straight up. She portrayed Steph as unstable, noting that the choreographer called Mr. Majors 32 times and sent him texts like, I guess you're with Cleopatra right now. Hey, they're trying to paint out how sour she is and how this is all to get back at him. See that? It's in her nature. She's jealous. We were supposed to get married. How could you do this to me? He took some blue pills, and was so intoxicated that she vomited in the bed. Then came yet another invocation of race. See, they're just saying, oh, the dream race is doing the race thing. Man, miss me. Chaudhry said that Majors, a black man who found his girlfriend unconscious in a closet in America, called for police for help. Now, that's not going to register with a lot of people, but to the jury, when we saw the makeup of them, Hispanic, there's a black woman, they're going to understand that more so than some other people in the world, only to find himself arrested moments later. It is that nuts. Jonathan, who was charged with assaulting and harassing Stephanie, arrived to the court 10 a.m. When we let's see the footage right here of how he arrived with his girl, Megan Good. He got some family members who were there also. The seats were marked reserved. It says before proceedings began, the prosecution told Judge Gaffey that they wanted to throw out 4 counts. You couldn't do that on May 9th. You couldn't do that before the headlines of, Jonathan faces a year. That's what's so unfair. He has to live with that. So Majors now faces 1 count each, okay? Intentional assault. Did he intend to insult her? Well, I'm saying that this doesn't even register as assault because she was the one reaching for your phone. She caused harm on you. So I don't say that. Reckless assault. That's the one where you go, maybe they could say that he was being reckless with his strength. They're going to talk about how he has muscles and whatnot. I disagree. I still think that no matter how bulky you are, you can't say, oh, he didn't know his strength of his own power. She wasn't bleeding. I don't believe, because I make sense. I don't believe that the lacerated ear that she has later in the morning at 11 o'clock, I believe the doctor who was going to testify that this is from consistent with the person who fell or hurt themselves. So I saw the videos and everything of her perfectly fine, no lacerated ear, fractured finger. I don't believe he even assaulted her or caused any of these injuries there. She doesn't bring it up the whole time. Not in one text, she doesn't bring it up. When she meets those people, she's more concerned about where her wallet is inside the back of the car. She wants her purse. So I don't even think he assaulted her. So to say that it was reckless assault, it just depends on the jury who watched this video and or hear the testimony or hear the witness talk. It really depends on them. There's aggravated harassment and harassment. I'll stop there. I mean, I don't know exactly what those things mean. Harassment. It could be he was mean to me. You're not going to get like 1 charge and then 3 of them are they lose. I think he's either guilty of all 4 or he's not guilty of all 4. Yeah, I do. I do think. I don't think they're going to say, well, okay, you didn't assault her, but that was aggravated harassment, but it wasn't harassment. I just don't see a jury doing that. Who knows? We heard the opening statements. They also said that the window was open during the opening statement of Stephanie's attorney, and they had to close that window as people applauded in the courtroom. There's some stuff about a butt clap, a butt slap. There's some irrelevant stuff that doesn't really matter to me, but that's worth reporting also, that Megan Good squeezed his buttocks. I mean, I don't believe it, but I also don't think it's relevant at all to anything. What's relevant is that Priya Chaudhry did a good job of trying to represent him as a guy who was just escaping her, and he was just making his way downtown, walking fast, faces pass, and I'm homebound. And he was homebound, and he said, no, let me just go to the hotel, turn off my phone, and just let it be. Now, there was no assault case. If the cops didn't make and fabricate this strangulation, which is why we're here, we would have never been in this case 7 months later. And it's the job of Perez to to illustrate him as I'ma shoot this bitch when I motherfucking see you. I don't go nowhere without my motherfucking heat cool. Smoking Megan Good. I was smoking Stephanie too. Free R. Kelly till they motherfucking free you. I cannot wait to have fun with this. When he gets that not guilty verdict, it's responsible. We have to be responsible in getting the message out there. I got a couple of designs ready. I don't know what to caption this, but this is definitely going to be posted the day that he wins this court case. And we got to do a better job at what they did at dragging him. When this guy comes back and he's not guilty, wins that, and he's awarded that status, we got to be, we got to make sure that we're a force of anti-white supremacy. We've got to combat it with our likes, with our retweets. So amplifying videos like this one, as well as other people, when Everything Always posts his video, go check that out. That guy has a big reach, and that like, that comment that you leave, the engagements that you do, it's YouTube. You know how to help. Do that. Go crazy. Go berserk. With that said, I expect a live stream later on tonight from me. I'm just after I edit this video up, and maybe 10, maybe 11 p.m. Eastern Standard. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm doing a live stream. I'm cover this. What else do I say? Hey, I know this is going to get a lot of views because all of my Jonathan videos do. It is very important to me what is going on in Gaza. Israel is just bombing buildings and indiscriminately killing, where I think 70% are either women or children. It's not at all justifiable, if you ask me. And since I have the platform, and I feel like it's my moral responsibility to draw awareness to that. Let me stop right there. Tomorrow, I don't know if she's taking the stand, but that will probably be a very eventful day when we get to see what she has to say about everything. Oh my God. Because we know what happened with Amber Heard and how she kind of mistakenly said some things that made her look bad. And I already believe Stephanie looks bad, but to see and hear Stephanie maybe tell some stories that are full, like every text message that she sent, they can cross her and say, okay, so you sent this text message. Was this because you wanted him back? Oh, you sent this text message. Why didn't you mention that he beat you? Oh, you sent this text message. This doesn't seem to allude to any. You tell one lie to cover up another lie. And I hope that everyone who's in court right now doing all the reports, keep up on that. And if you are somebody who's reporting on this case, you're going to be there and you're pro Stephanie, you're anti Jonathan, be open to what you'll see and be open to what you'll hear and be open to changing your mind. It is okay to be someone who is so strongly for the victims, or I should say, it's so common to be strongly for women who are often, maybe often more so than not, the victims. That doesn't mean that that's what happened here this time.